Good morning. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for what's going to be a great day. My name is Don Taylor. I'm a professor in the Sanford School of Public Policy, and I have the privilege of directing the Social Science Research Unit. Inside of one of the centers in Social Science Research Institute is the Baru Group, the Biodemography of Aging Research Group. And let me brag on them for a minute. This group is an esteemed group of scholars who are carrying on really a 4 to 5 decade tradition of empirical social science focused on demography of aging that's been done at Duke University. The session that we're going to enjoy and learn from today, we need to thank the NIH, NIA in particular. We have Dr. Patricia Jones with us, for example. Thank you for the support via an R13 grant to help fund this. We also would like to thank the Alzheimer's Association and Dr. Carl Hill, who is with us and also is a co-host of this event today, along with Igor Akashevich of Baru. The goal of today is to talk about how do we leverage existing data resources and analytic methods to try to address Alzheimer's disease and related dementias, in particular looking at disparities in diagnosis, treatment, and outcomes. And obviously, dealing with and learning to better address Alzheimer's disease is of great societal importance. So today, part of what we will be doing today and tomorrow is celebrating what is known, what we have been able to do so far. But I think what we really are hoping to do is to catalyze more work at Duke with Alzheimer's Association, with NIH, and scholars all over the world to figure out what can we do even better and how can we make use of all the data that our world is now producing and do good with that data. So again, welcome. I regret that we're not on Duke's campus. I don't think I will ever again take for granted having a muffin and a cup of coffee at a conference. I'm glad we're together like this, but I look forward to the day when we will again have conferences in person. So thank you and welcome. And I'd like to hand it off now to Dr. Harvey Cohen of Duke University.
Thanks, Don. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to add my welcome on behalf of the Duke Center for the Study of Aging and Human Development as its emeritus director. I'm Walter Kempner, professor of medicine in the School of Medicine. The Duke Center was created in 1955 and is actually the oldest continuously funded such center in the country. It is, from its inception, by nature a multidisciplinary center that has faculty members from across the entire university. In fact, a number of the people in the biodemography group have been longstanding members of the Aging Center as well. The founding director of the Aging Center was Dr. Ewald Bud Bussey, who was a geropsychiatrist. So cognition has always been part of our multidisciplinary approach. And we also have a rich history in the study of Alzheimer's disease. Some of the early work of Al Heyman and Gerda Fillenbaum led to the CIRAD registry and the criteria for Alzheimer's disease. Our geriatric evaluation and treatment clinic was one of the first multidisciplinary geriatric evaluation programs in the country, and it led in turn to the formation of the Memory Disorders Clinic, which ultimately helped enable Dr. Alan Roses to be awarded an Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, which in collaboration with our NIA-funded Claude Pepper Center, defined the importance of ApoE4 in Alzheimer's disease. We've now come sort of full circle with the creation of the Duke UNC Alzheimer's Disease Research Collaborative, now under the leadership of Dr. Heather Whitson, the current director of the Duke Aging Center, and Dr. Gwen Garden, the UNC Chair of Neurology. This collaborative is looking at Alzheimer's disease through a biology of aging lens, with a particular focus on the involvement of underrepresented minorities and addressing health disparities, additionally informed by our Reach Equity Center and our CTSI. Thus, it's clear that the Aging Center has many interests that are in concert with the goals of this conference, as Don alluded to them. And I see it as a great next step towards exploring the methodologies that can be used to enhance our knowledge about Alzheimer's disease and its relationship to cognitive and biological aging, comorbidities, and the role played by health disparities. I really look forward to learning from the great array of speakers that will follow today and tomorrow. So welcome, and I hope you'll enjoy the conference.
Good morning, everyone. I know we'll get that worked out. So I'm Carl V. Hill, the new Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer with the Alzheimer's Association. And we're all really excited to partner with Duke University and the National Institute on Aging, Dr. Patricia Jones, and all of my former colleagues there to host this important workshop. Given the many disparities that we observe in aging, particularly in Alzheimer's and other dementia, it's important that we provide health disparities researchers with training and tools to understand the environmental, sociocultural, behavioral, and biological factors that are involved, and probably most important, how they all merge to create pathways for risk for populations disproportionately affected by various health outcomes. And so, the more we learn that what's good for the heart is good for the brain, we understand the need to include upstream factors that may influence people's risk for Alzheimer's or other dementia, where they live, air pollution in the environment, and the types of social stressors that may enact lifestyle coping behaviors that challenge heart health and ultimately create risk for Alzheimer's and related dementia. So the challenge is how best to measure and analyze any of this. I mean, it sounds great theoretically, but how do we measure it? How do we analyze it? And what, if any, existing data can help us meet that challenge? So in that sense, this workshop is very necessary for the field, and I'm happy to have collaborated with Dr. Akusevich to develop the concept a few years ago during my time at NIA, and thrilled to have Drs. Maria Carrillo and Dr. Heather Snyder, who you'll hear from later at the Alzheimer's Association, join the leadership team. And probably most honored to have health disparities researchers, participate, to hear more about leveraging existing data and analytic methods for health disparities research related to aging, Alzheimer's, and related dementia. And I wanted to bring your attention to an upcoming conference in June. I'll share that information a little later, but just wanted to say good morning, thank you, welcome. We're honored to serve as a host, and thank you to everyone that was innovative and creative and pivoted to this virtual format to make this workshop a reality. So thank you. And now I will pass it over to Dr. Patricia Jones from the National Institute on Aging.
Thank you. I actually wanted to know if Dr. Rand, would you like to go? I'm happy to cede my time and come back around after you're finished, if you're ready.
I'm fine. If everything is working from my side, I'm sorry.
Okay, go right ahead.
Can you hear me now clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a professor emeritus of sociology at Duke University and have been the director of the Center for Population Health and Aging for the last 6 years, and just handed the directorship of it over to Scott M. Lynch, who couldn't be here today. So I am representing the Center for Population Health and Aging on his behalf. As Harvey indicated, the legacy of research on aging is a long one at Duke, upwards of 5 decades, and originating in the medical school. On the arts and sciences and Sanford side, however, there has been considerable social science involvement in the demography of aging and a very deep commitment to demography and a contribution to the development of demography over the last 5 decades to deal more satisfactorily with the aging phenomena. The Center for Population Health and Aging today really is a descendant of the original Center for Demographic Studies, which started all of this innovation in research on aging in the 1970s through the early 2000s. And since the early 2000s, we've had a couple of organizational transitions at Duke as a result of external reasons to the science, which has continued in a very strong way and is reflected in Baru's research now. Just to tell you a little bit about the Center for Population Health and Aging, which has been around really since the early 2000s and represents a large group of researchers across campus representing social science efforts and biodemography in aging, approximately 50 scholars. The Center for Population Health and Aging is administered under the Social Science Research Institute, and it's part of another institute, the Duke Population Research Institute, which is anchored by 2 center grants. One is the P30 grant to the Center for Population Health and Aging, which is a demography and economics of aging and now of Alzheimer's and Alzheimer's related diseases center. And the second center is an NICHD supported P2C center, the Duke Population Research Center, which tends to really complement each other scientifically, and we benefit by each other's presence organizationally. In the Center for Population Health and Aging, there are many interests in demography of aging. I'll only list a few. One would be developmental sequelae from childhood to old age that affect heterogeneity in the pace of aging. Life course contexts of aging and health, including SES, family, neighborhood, region, and country. Intergenerational relationships and the transmission of health and health behavior. Age period cohort interactions and health outcomes across the life course. Gene environment interactions in the aging process. Innovations and data collection and analytic methods. And cross-primate species studies of the causal effects of early life adversity in aging and mortality, among other topics of interest. I want to just speak briefly, though, about Baru's scientific legacy. As I say, this is a very deep one. It goes back as old as the efforts have been in the biodemography of aging at Duke, way back to the 1970s. And I alert you to a volume on the demography of aging that came out in 1994 from the National Research Council, and a chapter in it, The Medical Demography of Aging, written by Ken Manton and Eric Stollard, laid out what had been the developing agenda up to that point for over 20 years, looking at advances in research on disability dynamics and mortality. This is a tradition, of course, that goes all the way back to Bernoulli and Gompertz in earlier centuries, where the actuarial and biometric models of longevity and survival were developing. Now in Baru, we have even an accelerated pace of innovation in biometric models of aging and extending across diseases and various causes of mortality, but also now most recently extended to Alzheimer's disease and related dementia disorders. BARU has improved the conventional GWAS approaches that are not well adapted to complex age-related phenotypes in aging populations with the development of their stochastic process models, one being the genetic stochastic process model. They have identified genetic and non-genetic factors related to observed and unobserved sources of heterogeneity in the aging populations. They have identified with these approaches the complex association between risk alleles, behavioral symptoms, and phenotypes. And most recently in empirical studies of apolipoproteins B and E genes. And they have identified most recently more details about the progression of Alzheimer's disease as a multi-dimensional phenomenon with heterogeneity at points of intake and various ways along the way in the process or the progression of Alzheimer's disease. And finally, they are identifying potentially modifiable environmental factors relevant to the genetic underpinnings of Alzheimer's and other diseases to facilitate interventions. All of this has led to very sophisticated forecasting models for various diseases, and the hardworking group in the BARU unit has carried the tradition at Duke very rapidly forward in the last 2 decades. In short, BARU has maintained a steady but progressive focus on the complex process of aging, developing an approach that has integrated demography with biology over several decades and yielded many novel observations. Thanks. Patricia.
I will move forward. Good morning, everyone. My name is Patricia Jones, and I'm the director for the National Institutes on Aging's Office of Special Populations. And on behalf of NIA leadership, I bring a very warm welcome this morning. Just a little bit of background, the Office of Special Populations is one of several offices within the Office of the Director, Dr. Richard Hodis. And our primary role and charge is to leverage and catalyze across the Institute, the agency and HHS as a whole and outside entities, health disparities, minority health research, and initiatives to advance health equity. We also catalyze and promote training of underrepresented scientists to build a more robust and diverse workforce. I have to tell you, this is a very, very important moment in time that this workshop has presented itself. Many of you are probably aware of the recent communications shared by Dr. Hodis and Dr. Collins announcing a new initiative at NIH called Unite. And the purpose of Unite is to address structural and end structural racism. And as we are addressing health disparities in the context of large data sets, methods, and processes, I encourage you to be bold and innovative and open in your thinking and conversations as you're listening to your colleagues present different ideas and activities that bear forward efficacy. There are opportunities to really address longstanding challenges that have supported these issues in our systems and our institutions and permeate throughout some of our methods and processes that are commonly adopted in biomedical research. So in the context of the spirit of addressing issues up front and working collaboratively within the agency and with the extramural community, I see this as a wonderful opportunity, this workshop, to have open conversation around methods and processes that may help us truly better understand disparities, redress and resolve the issues, and promote minority health and the things that we are learning that work well using all of our resources, including large data sets available to us. So I thank you for your time and your commitment to this topic. My colleagues will be presenting today who are in the Division of Behavioral and Social Research. And I will say a few words on behalf of the other divisions represented in NIA that have longstanding relationships and investments across different fields, looking at Alzheimer's as well as other topics related to aging research to redress health disparities, to give you some perspective on the depth and the breadth of work that NIA continues to support in a roundtable tomorrow. So I look forward to engaging each of you in ongoing discussions today and tomorrow. Thank you.